had to learn
Wait a minute,
how.
no, I ain't never had a
No.
in the YMCA.
No, you ain't never. I'm saying the moves and the risk. I'm very risk averse. You are not. But the moves that we made could have gone to the left where we might have to.
I bind that in Jesus' name. It could not have gone that way. The Lord God that directs my path. His footsteps are ordered by the Lord. Come on now. I'm not going to be.
My point is.
Unless he direct us there, then I ain't got no choice about it.
I'm not saying that we would end up there. Could have, but I'm just saying if your ideas are not small.
5, 4, 3.
Action.
Good job. Welcome back. I'm Heath.
I'm Bernie.
And it's the Heath and Bernie Show. Yeah.
People say they like it's crazy to me, but whatever.
I like it.
You love it.
We are a Black Christian married couple that be living together and going places together and watching
that's why
TV
people
together.
might be confused about us when you say living together, and they say, "Are those people really married?" You said somebody said that in some comment.
Yeah,
because you don't be telling the real truth and stuff.
I just said we are a Black Christian married couple that be living together.
Oh,
and going
I didn't
together.
even hear that part. See,
and yes, it's common.
Okay, sorry.
Living together, going places together, and we be watching TV together as per our last episode.
All the above.
Exactly. And so welcome those of you who are coming back to view us. And if you're here for the first time, thanks for checking us out.
Thank you.
We are, like I said, a Black Christian married couple. And we have, so I got to give some context and some background because there was, so we did the video on my future wifey dude shooting a shot to Essence Atkins.
Right.
And then that thing blew up and blew up for our standards because we don't have a lot of views. All 245 of y'all who have subscribed. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Please subscribe.
But some of the people in the comments don't know our history, and we take it for granted that people know us. I guess the people who know us and who have subscribed to us, they know our history to some degree. But we have been married for 25 years. There was somebody who said in the comments that, is that couple really married? Now I was like, now what couple are they talking about? Because clearly they're not talking about me and Bernie.
About?
So they're like, is that couple really married? And because they need to. She need to be concerned about him. Something to the effect of that, because I don't think he's in it.
Oh wow.
I was like,
they really
so
don't know
25 years
us.
Not enough for you, ma'am?
They don't. Oh, it was a woman?
I think so.
Oh.
But it was funny.
I'm
not mad. People be having opinions. That's the thing about the internet. When you put stuff out there on the internet, it's out there on the internet.
And people don't know you and they'll just be talking like they know whatever. Just, I guess it's because they're going off of whatever you said.
Yeah.
And appearances. People, they look at you and they think a certain thing.
They think that what their perception and perspective is of who you are. Yeah. And that's what they're using their frame of reference and their background to be like, oh, that's what he is and that's who he is.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is what we do.
True, I guess. Yeah, that is what we do. I guess
it's human nature.
Well, yeah. Yeah, because we did that often when I watched those shows. I saw exactly who people were. Those reality shows like Grown and Gospel and whoever else.
But see, the difference is we're normally right.
But I'm just going off the behavior I saw. I don't know what that person was going off of. What
do you mean?
I'm talking about when I was talking about.
Yeah, I don't know.
The way,
I don't know.
When I'm talking about those reality shows, I'm going off the behavior. But I think they maybe, I don't know, maybe something you said rubbed the person the wrong way for her to say, I need to be careful. Girl, if you only knew.
Yeah. But we also are we're kind of like low-key retired relationship.
Oh, no. Okay. In that area.
Right. We are low-key retired relationship consultants.
Yeah.
We started a business back in 2000 called Family Boot Camp. And we focused on improving the communication, trust, and leadership of couples. We didn't start off doing that. It kind of evolved to that, but we first were doing premarital counseling.
Yeah.
We did that for 6 years and then 5 years. And then people started like, hey, can you help us with our marriage? And then we started doing marriage counseling. What does that sound?
The dishwasher.
Okay. We started doing marriage counseling at our church and stuff. And then we used that and started the business. I went back to school. Bernie went back to school.
I really like the pre-count. I really like the premarital folks.
Yeah, I mean, I like the premarital folks too.
Because the married people, it was a lot of work because you got to
once we jumped into that married,
you got to undo stuff.
Yeah,
and they have no idea. They like sponges, like ooh. But then we give them a reality check, calm down,
right? Because
this is what you asking for. But anyway, the married folks, it's like, ugh. You got to undo.
You do have to undo the issues that they have kind of created for themselves. And so then we did that for 10 years.
Long time.
And then it was in 2011, I think it was 2011, when we had that epiphany at our boot camp. And we realized that, okay, this marriage, this premarital stuff that we have been teaching for all these years is not effective anymore. It's really not effective after you get married, because what we were experiencing was that couples were coming back to us with issues that we addressed during premarital counseling. And it was like, why aren't y'all implementing the strategies and plans that we put forth in premarital counseling that you all said that y'all would do? And what I realized, and that kept happening over and over again, and it wasn't just us, it was like the industry. And I realized, premarital counseling is effective for that helps you get married. But then after you get married, there's a whole different. It's like whatever what you did to get to 7th grade will not let you pass 7th grade. It will only let you enter 7th grade.
Premarital counseling is like AI.
What are you talking about?
I knew you could say that, because it's like AI. When you ask AI a question and it gives you all this general information, that's premarital counseling to me gives you general information about being married, communication, finance, sex, whatever. But it's nothing about the specifics, because you know how you want AI to go tell me something specifically about blah, blah, because you want it to go into more detail. It doesn't really go into a lot of detail because it can't, because talking about premarital, you don't know what issues are coming where you need to find out I don't know how to deal with him doing porno or whatever. Oh, sorry.
Being on the table. It's okay. Go ahead.
I don't know how to deal with him on the computer. I don't know how to do it. She says she ain't cooking or whatever. It's anything.
Or the family drama that goes along with.
My mama don't like him. Yeah. It's a whole bunch of stuff that could be happening. I want a baby. He don't want a baby. She want a baby. What? That wasn't in premarital counseling?
Yeah.
All them little things.
And those things, I kind of put it like, you don't know how you're going to feel about the situations that come up in marriage. And so you can't predict how you're going to feel.
You can't predict,
and
because you know why?
Determine the decisions that you make.
And you can't predict, and you can't ask nobody. You know why? Because marriage ain't. I know y'all heard me say this a million times. Marriage ain't no cookie cutter.
Yeah.
Your marriage don't look like this one, and it ain't gonna look like nobody else's, because everybody's different. You bringing different stuff to the table, different backgrounds, whatever. So it's not gonna be the same. You gotta figure out what's gonna go on in that household.
So anyway, we did premarital counseling. We did marriage counseling. We bought some property, bought 14 acres and built an obstacle course on it that was specifically designed for trust, leadership, and communication issues to help couples learn that. We built obstacle courses, ropes courses, and stuff like that. And we did that for 2006
and really that opened
to
up
2017. What's that? 11 years?
And that opened up to not just couples, because then we did churches, and they're they needed team building with, I don't know, their leadership groups or I don't know, whatever ministry that came. Or
we did a lot of churches. We traveled,
families.
We traveled a lot to churches out of state and around the DMV area. We live in Maryland. And so
then we did a lot of
that stuff.
Team building stuff with just groups, like a bunch of girlfriends that wanted to do a team building thing, and then we did families. Remember the couple we had with 2 twin boys?
Yeah, so they came from out of 23
town.
years of experience doing relationship consulting. We've been married 25 years. And so that's our background. So when we look at relationship stuff, we have a perspective from a professional standpoint, from a practitioner standpoint, we've been in the room when couples have decided they're not going to be together no more. We've been in the room where couples have decided that they're going to stick it out after cheating. We've been in the room where couples have decided any number of relational dynamics that have existed in the past. We've been in the room for that, and we've been a part of the conversation. We facilitated those conversations. So we know the yucky, nasty, icky stuff that happens. And we know the joyous, jubilant celebration stuff that happens. And so we have a different perspective about relationships than you
seen it all.
Yeah, we've seen it all. I mean, I'm not gonna say we've seen it all.
Well,
but we've seen a whole lot.
I've seen enough.
Yeah.
Let me say that.
We've seen a whole lot.
Even up to the end. Whew.
Yeah. So and we still do it. We kind of Bernie retired in the end of December last year. And from her job, and I'm still working in my job, but I am. I'm kind of transitioning to this podcast stuff. Yeah, and so the relationship stuff is kind of taking a back seat to it. So that's why I say we're kind of low key retired, because we're still doing it to some degree, but we're not really taking on new clients.
Yeah, I thought we more transitioned it into the thing that now that we do the podcast because of the more fun, bills, babies, blah blah. Yes.
Because we are trying to because couples be focusing on bills, babies, businesses, and the Bible, and they deprioritize having fun. We are prioritizing fun and want to push couples to prioritize fun back in your relationships. And so that is what we are doing. That's what this podcast really is centered around. Because
we want to do that too. Because
we're doing it. We want to do that. We're doing it.
Well, that's my point. Because, you know, while we have been working, I'm not working anymore, but when we were working, we were doing all what you just described, that business that we had with the family boot camp. We were working 9 hours, 10 hours a day, and doing that on the weekend.
Yeah.
And during the week,
at night,
and during the weekend, constantly. So it was like 2 jobs all the time. Yeah. And so that's why when people ask me, what you doing? You retired? Nothing. Stop asking me that. Anyway.
Yeah. So that's our background. So when we talk about relationship stuff, that's why we kind of lean toward relationship stuff and try to do it from a fun standpoint now. So those of you all who don't know us, that's sort of an introduction to who we are, who we've been, and so forth. So today we're going to talk about, did you have anything else you wanted to share?
Nope.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about.
What is up with that next?
That is my a transition. Okay. Let's do the next thing.
All right.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about a video that we saw. We were because we watch a lot of podcasts and stuff, and this is a video with the Perrys. It's called With the Perrys. It's a podcast between Preston and Jill Perry. They are a married couple, a Black Christian married couple. They are poets, and they have a podcast that is really, really popular. And they were talking. They were interviewing Ezekiel. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But he's not a podcaster, but he's a poet and an artist and so forth. And he does a lot of stuff on the internet. I used to follow him and his wife because they did a series where they were doing, they would take 2 couples that didn't know each other, ask them a bunch of questions, and then they would match them up, and they'd go to a restaurant. And at the restaurant, they'd give them questions, and they would have to ask each other questions. And in those questions, after the end of those questions, they would determine if they wanted to go on another date or if they wanted to be like, nah, that's okay, I'm good. And so they had to put up a thumbs up or a thumbs down
in front of each other.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so it was very it was
wear your feelings on your shoulder and that
good
thing.
Content. I'll drop it if they still have it up. I'll drop a link in the comments.
What did people do when the thumb was down? I don't want to do this again with you.
They was like, oh, okay.
Dang. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of rough.
I mean, and sometimes it was like, I want to do it, but then the other person was like, I don't want to do it. Ooh. And they try to let them down gently. But that moment is just.
But for you to even go into that, you got you ain't wearing nothing on your shoulders. You got alligator skin. That's what you walking up in there with. You don't walk in there like that.
Well, some people,
people who got in their feelings, they're not going to even do that situation.
But I think most of them were millennials, and I think they have a different perspective about rejection. Those individuals, let me not generalize. Those individuals have a different perspective about rejection. Like, if it's okay that if you don't want to date me, if you don't want to be with me, that's fine. I'm good by myself. Well, I'm good, but I'm not for everybody. And so they have that kind of mindset going into it. They don't look at it like, oh, something's wrong with me. That's from my viewing of those videos. That's what I recall.
Are you sure? Because these people be depressed when they don't get a lot of likes. I mean, on social media.
That is true.
What group are you talking about now?
That is true. I'm
confused.
Well, like I said, the videos that I saw, because they had like the talking head interviews like throughout the whole episode and after the either rejection or acceptance. So
were they like the upper end of the millennial?
Nah,
people? Oh, I don't know.
They was young, like 23, 25, 26, and so forth. Anyway, so this episode interviewed Ezekiel.
We got all into that. We ain't even talking about that. Go ahead.
They interviewed Ezekiel, and so. Anyway, the podcast was about Kevin Samuels, men, sex, and Kevin Samuels, and I was like, "Oh, I have a lot of words to say about Kevin Samuels and the plight of men," because I wrote a book back in 2015. I published a book called "His Leadership, Her Trust," which is the name of my Instagram Instagram page. It was talking about the 4 steps a Christian man needs to take in order for a woman to trust, respect, and actually want to follow him. And I delved deep into the different dynamics of relationships, of leadership, of power, of persuasion, and so forth. And I took a different take than in the Bible. I took a different take than the typical biblical approach because. I'll talk about that, about what the Bible says about leadership and teaching men how to be leaders, and the gap that the Bible has about teaching men that I tried to fill. But they talk about Kevin Samuels and some things in there, and I was like, oh, this is a great segment that I want to extrapolate from that video, and I want to talk about that because it's around kind of what we've done primarily for our career, and it's a conversation that I think men need to have. And they brought some very good points up in that discussion that I want us to delve into. So I'm going to play this video, and then so hopefully y'all can be able to hear it. So the person on the left is Ezekiel. That's the guest. And then the married couple is Preston in the middle, and then his wife, Jill. She used to be a stud.
I don't understand what you're talking about. What's a stud? Put stud in the clothes. I've seen studs in clothes.
Hold on.
The freak is a stud. What are you saying?
She used to be gay and used to be the stud. The stud was the man.
Really?
Yeah.
I do get a little like, in looking at her, it's funny you say that because I ain't know nothing about that. But I get like some male energy from her a little bit, masculinity. Yeah. Because remember when we first watched this, you had to tell me they was married. I thought she was just not another dude, but another person sitting there like all three. But I was like, I would have never thought those two were married. I didn't know that. But she used to be over on the other side.
She was on the other side. She was
the man?
Yeah.
Wow.
She wrote a whole book about it, so I'm not like throwing shade or anything or being messy or trying to gossip. She wrote a whole book about her experience. Mm-hmm. And from my just reviewing it and doing my research, she I think she had a that's not a sexual encounter, but she had
when she was young, somebody got her.
Yeah,
that's right. But that's usually what
I'm not trying to laugh. That's not funny.
I'm not trying to be funny, but that's usually what happens.
Yeah.
A lot of times when people go on that side, because,
Yeah, something happened. I don't know what happened. And then she started liking women. And then somebody suggested that she should be a stud. I think in high school, somebody suggested that she should be a stud because she's, I think, 34 and he's 37. And I think Ezekiel was 37 as well. And so she was like, oh, okay. So when she decided to become a stud, that's when she said, girls were throwing themselves at me. And she was like, oh, this is great. And then, you know, she had an encounter with the Lord and then she kind of transformed her life. And then I saw a previous podcast between the two of them where she was talking about, I'm glad that I needed somebody because I have a lot of masculine energy and I need somebody who's got a strong masculine energy. I need like a saved thug. That's what she said she needed.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense though, especially if you was the stud or something, you know, because that makes sense.
So anyway, this couple, that's who they are. Yeah, with the Perrys, their podcast. So let's jump into this content.
So Kevin Samuels, when he popped out, I feel like he kind of, and I could be wrong, but it feels like he opened the door for a lot of podcasts, a lot of content that feels hyper masculine. And by I mean hyper masculine, I mean inordinately unbiblical, kind of this establishing of leadership in a way that feels like you're superior or dominant in a way that doesn't look like Jesus. And I think listening to y'all, I can see how that is appealing because it's a way to reestablish dignity and leadership that may not actually include gentleness and humility, right? So I guess my question would be, can y'all define for us what masculine leadership actually is so that people have a vision for it, which also corrects even wrong visions or understandings of leadership that aren't right. Does that make sense what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah, you explain that really well.
I don't. You just don't want to answer the question. One,
like, what are they supposed to be looking for? Because if they got all these options and these alternatives, like some men might think that's authentic leadership for you to be in control of everything that your wife does and for her to not have any say about what she wears or where she goes. When like that's actually abusive.
Yeah. One, I want to just say this. I'm not saying that. Okay. So I'm not saying, before I answer that, what like biblical masculinity looks like, I want to just address the Kevin Samuels thing. And before I say this, I don't want to make it seem like that if you're not married and leading a home, that you cannot give certain advice, right? That you cannot pour into men in any aspect, right? But when we look in scriptures, one of the qualifications of being a leader in the church, right, of voicing the community, right, an elder, right, is being able to lead your home well, means wife, children, and then that's how we know that you have the right qualifications to be a voice in your local community, your church, an elder, right? And I think a lot of times when we hear men, don't listen to what a man says, listen to what a man models. And Kevin Samuels wasn't even married, first of all, right? So he wasn't even he didn't even show us, even through social media, that he knew how to lead a family. But he was pouring all of this marriage advice, right? I think, I don't know the man personally, but it seemed like out of his woundedness. And so a lot of wounded men flocked, I believe, to Kevin Samuels because he catered to their woundedness, which was automatically problematic, right? Which he probably said some true things, right? And people, oh, well, that was true. It's like, false theology is always going to be sprinkled with a little bit of truth. One. But
so let me stop there and before I talk, let me ask you, Bernie, did you have any thoughts about that? About what he said?
I was waiting for him to. Well, he's
about to go into the answer to the question
about what does masculine leadership look like?
Yeah.
Or Christian masculine leadership. I guess that makes sense about the whole Kevin Samuels. I only saw maybe one or two things and was like, oof, this guy's, what you would think when you see somebody who's just real blatant like that. But I don't know if I even knew I didn't know he wasn't married or whatever. I had no idea.
Well,
So
he's actually divorced twice.
Kevin Samuels?
Yeah. He's actually 2 times divorced, and he has a daughter, and it was out there once they found out that he had a daughter that when I say they, I mean the internet, that he was not taking care of his daughter.
Wow.
His 10-year-old daughter.
Wow.
I think her daughter's 20 now. That's what was out there. I don't know if it's true. It seemed true because a lot of people were reporting on it, but I can't say this is, he had a daughter and he wasn't taking care of it, but he definitely was married twice.
Interesting. So, okay.
I
thought that was interesting what what's the guy in the middle thing said. Preston said about you should be following an example and the example that's biblically in the Bible. And it's funny that he had all these followers, but the reason why I feel like he had all these followers because he was a drama type person, and that's what sells and that's what goes. I mean, that's just society. So I don't think people really cared anything about his background or anything like that, or what. It was just the audacity of the things he would say of why he got the crowd.
And to be honest, he had a lot of men follow him, and I call them the Samuelites, because there's a whole bastion of men that jumped off of what he was talking about, men that felt like it's not fair out here in these streets. It's women have all these requirements of men, and men can't get any love from women, and women act like they don't want nobody, and women want gold diggers and all. It was all these things that men were saying about women, and they were getting irritated and frustrated. And Kevin Samuels was calling them out online and basically trashing them online.
Calling the women out?
Yeah, calling the women out.
Based off of what you just said, what the men were saying?
Yes.
So he catered.
Well, wait a minute. He was calling the women out who were exhibiting some of these traits
that the men were complaining about.
Right. And then, so it was like he was their Donald Trump. He was the one saying the things in public that they were thinking in private that no one could say it. And it gave them the courage to say it also. And so a lot of the Samuelites started doing podcasts, and I got wrapped up into that because, like I said, we're relationship-based, biblically-based relationship consultants and coaches. And so when people were talking about relationship stuff, that was just a natural inclination for me to learn about what it is that they were saying. And I realized that there was a lot of hurt and a lot of frustration and anger that they were expressing because of their past relationships with women or whatever. And it was being validated by Kevin Samuels going at these women that were real strong. Mm-hmm. And it created this whole, Samuelite kind of culture of people who were really, really going hard on that. But my thing about Kevin Samuels, I think he's a trash human being.
Well, was.
Yeah, he was a trash human being.
Why do you say that?
Because he was so rude and so mean and so
understand why.
Unempathetic and so callous and so disrespectful.
But why the people knew that and they would go and ask him questions, women anyway. Women would subject themselves to this man knowing that. And even if you looked cute, because I don't know what the women who may not look attractive, what they were thinking, but because he was coming for all that.
Yeah.
But even the ones that was cute or whatever and had made a lot of money and was nice looking, he still was negative toward those people and was very rude. I mean, he had nothing good to say ever.
That's why I think he was That's why I think he was such a trash human being, because even though some of the things that he said, like what Preston was saying, may have been true, like some women thinking that I'm not going to date a man who doesn't make 6 figures because I need him to do this, that, and the third for me. Come on. I mean, shut up. You sound stupid.
I mean, that's what he would say. And then he said, you got a baby?
Right.
Wait,
but
somebody said they didn't want to have sex or something, whatever. He said, you got a baby, right?
Yeah, I mean, his logic was so...
You have a child, why aren't you having sex?
It's like, so you done gave another man the chance to lay a seed up in you, but then you going to hold out for me?
I don't understand why they were subjecting themselves to
his approach was so mean that even if he was saying something correct, the way that he said it made him a trash human being. That's why I say he's a trash human being.
Yeah, it is the way he said it.
Because you didn't have to be that cruel and coarse and crass to these women. And he was going at men the same way. It was like, you don't have to do that. And if you do that, you're a trash human being.
He did do that to men because sometimes if they were short or something, he would be like, how tall are you? How much money you make?
Yeah. And he would say it so cavalierly, like, so you think that you 5'7" and you think you deserve some women? Look, you're short and you're fat and you're ugly. Look at you.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it's like, come on, dude. You're just mean. You're mean. He was mean.
But that got him a lot of. That's what. Yeah,
he was there. Donald Trump.
Yeah, that's what sells.
He was the underserved male generations Donald Trump. And a lot of people came. And so it was interesting because when we did our photo shoot for when your family came here, we did a photo shoot of her whole family when they came here. The photographer, while we were downloading all the images to the smart.
She mentioned Kevin Samuels.
So she was talking about her boyfriend. And she was sharing with me about how, she and her boyfriend are in a good space and blah, blah. He lives out of state. And she was like, oh yeah, have you heard of Kevin Samuels? I was like, yeah. I said, she's like, what do you think about him? I said, he's a trash human being. And she's like, oh. And she looked surprised, like, what? And she was like, oh my gosh, he really helped me. And I was like, really? How? And she said, because I was overweight and I was kind of big before. Like remember how skinny she was?
She was tall.
She was tall and thin. And so she was like, I was overweight. I weighed so-and-so. And I lost weight because he said that you can't expect to find.
She called him?
Oh, no, she said she never did.
She just listened.
Yeah, but she was like, she said you can't, she said that he said you're not going to be able to get a man, a quality man unless you lose weight. And, so it caused me to lose weight. And then I found my boyfriend and, now that's great. And so I was like, so you think the way that he was talking to women and the way he was talking to people is like good? And she was like, well, he didn't talk to everybody like that, making excuses like they do Trump. And then, then she was like, yeah, but do you not think that women are here delusional? I'm like, do you hear yourself? That's what she said. I said, do you hear yourself? So we were having a respectful, like we don't know each other, but we both feel real strongly about what we believe. And we're in a business relationship right now. He was
dead and gone.
Yeah. And I was like, he was, and so we were having a very
intense
conversation. And I was trying to, in a respectful way, mind you, she's only 24. She was
young, yeah.
And she was like, I definitely, women out here talking about they don't need a man. I said, you don't need a man. She's like, yes, I do. I need my boyfriend. I was like, did you start this business? Because she's a 24-year-old business owner, photography studio was dope. It was nice. And she runs that business. I was like, did he help you build this business? She's like, well, yeah, he gave me some good ideas and stuff. I said, okay, those are good ideas of you while you were in operation. And you bounced some ideas off of him, but is he down here paying the bills? Is he down here helping you market and get, and you have a staff here. Did he help hire them? No. Did he help you do that? So if y'all broke up. He don't
even live in town.
So if y'all broke up, are you going to stop your business? Are you going to shut down everything? No. Then you don't need him. You want a man, you like a man, but you don't need him. No, I need a man. She was so.
Why did she say she need a man?
Because Kevin Samuels was like, women out here saying that you don't need a man. If you don't need a man, then go get a baby, make a baby by yourself. Go protect yourself. And because that's the whole thing. I need a man for protection. Like women haven't been protected themselves.
I got a sick.
Come on now.
That's all I'm saying. It's right over there.
Yeah, so like women haven't been protecting themselves. Anyway, so we just had a very robust conversation. Then she started talking about some of the other Samuelites And I was like, yeah, she's a trash person. And they're a trash person. And she even brought up Andrew Tate, who is
I don't even know who that is.
He's a trashy. So he took Kevin Samuels and took it to the next level.
Oh, after he passed away?
I don't know
was he out at the same time?
I think he was out at the same time, but he was Andrew Tate is currently under arrest, house arrest, and indictment in not the Ukraine. What's some other countries over there? For it's one of them countries over there in Europe near Ukraine for that has allowed people to smuggle women and traffic women into their country so that they can open up these sex online sex sites.
What are you saying to me? So he was out there trashing women, but in the background running a brothel?
Yes.
Mother freak.
Not a brothel, but he was.
I mean, you know what I'm saying? Sex trafficking stuff?
He was sex trafficking women.
What?
He was making it seem like that he loves them and wants to bring them out to the country that they're in. Like, it's going to kill me. I can't remember what country he was in.
He was taking Americans and
Americans
all over,
and act like he loved them and act like he liked them, and then because he's a mixed martial, he's a kickboxer, mixed martial artist kickboxer.
Is he American?
I think he is. I think he is.
What kind of connections he got over there to be doing that?
Well, that country, for like a long time, I saw a documentary on it even before I heard about Andrew Tate. That country was
the one
allowing.
You can't think of where we.
Yes.
Okay.
Was allowing people to go into there and then basically open up brothels and open up whorehouses, and they would kidnap women from other countries and then ship them over to this country, and you had to work in these brothels, and they were basically trafficked. They were slaves and sex slaves, and so the country was like, okay, we got to crack down on it because Russia had a lock on the Russian mafia had a lock on all of the things over there, things that were going on. And then other countries started coming in, other people started coming in, and then they ended up.
Like Take Two.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Remember that movie with
Taken.
Oh, that's what it was called?
Taken.
It wasn't Take Two?
Taken.
What was the man's name again?
Liam Neeson. Yeah,
and Taken when they took his daughter.
Yes.
They're going to sell her off with all these other girls.
That's what they be doing. Anyway, but he got wrapped up. Well, he led an effort.
So he's in jail over there?
Well, he's under house arrest and he is waiting trial.
He still be doing the podcast?
Oh no, they shut all that stuff down. No, they shut all that stuff down.
I was going to say, oh my
But
goodness.
the people over here in the States, they love him. They love him. They honor.
I ain't never even heard of him.
They treat him like he is Jesus Christ.
What?
Yes, they do. They're like, oh, he is the man. He is the man.
What?
He's terrible human
Women
being.
too?
I don't know if women still do, but some women. I mean, this woman who I was talking to at the photography
she knew about him too.
Yeah, she brought him up. She was like, "You heard of Andrew Tate?" I was like, "He's over in I can't remember the name of the country
what did she
right
say?
Now." She's like, "Yeah, but I was like, okay,
what is happening?
Give me my disc, please, of my pictures, ma'am.
This world
business. Anyway, so
Jesus on a jet.
So
on his way back.
That essentially my thing about Kevin Samuels, he may have said some things that were correct, but he was such a trash human being because he was so cold and callous, had no empathy, had no compassion toward anybody.
No, he had the complete opposite of all those things.
And I think last thing I'm gonna say about him, I think it's befitting that he died the way he died.
Oh gosh.
On top of a woman.
I don't want to. Do we have to talk about that?
No, we're not going to talk about it, but I think it's befitting that he died the way he died.
Is that true?
Yeah. He died on the downstroke.
He had a heart attack?
I don't know what happened, but he died on the downstroke.
I mean, that's usually what happens if you're doing that and you die. But was he that old?
He was 56, 57.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's close to.
That's close to? Yeah.
Whatever. Wow.
Yeah, I think God takes people out in different ways. It's like, okay, it's like Samson. Oh, you want to be out down there with Delilah and them? Okay, all right. Let me go ahead and just end this thing for you. Oh, you asked me to be, to give you strength one last time so you can kill all these people. Oh, I'm gonna let you do that. But apparently he ain't let Samuel do that. He's like, oh, you want to be out here and these women, you're influencing all these men? Okay, this is gonna be your last downstroke. Boom, and then you're out.
Oh, you talking about
yeah.
They have close names. Because I thought you were still on Samuel. Because I was like, Samson, he cut his hair. He had no. So anyway, okay, got it.
So that's my thing about Kevin Samuels. Anything you want to say about that?
No.
Okay, let's get back to why we're here.
Now he's going to answer the question.
Yes,
that she asked.
But I think the main person to look at is Jesus, and Jesus wasn't married, but he was the Son of God. So he right, right, and so he was married to us.
And just for recollection, the question that he asked is, "What is masculine leadership?" That's what the question was. What is masculine leadership?
But I think the main person to look at is Jesus, and Jesus wasn't married, but he was the Son of God. So he right, right, and so he was married to us, his church. And I think what Jesus did, Jesus came and modeled Christ-like sacrificial love that was both gentle and firm when he needed to be, right? And so he was kind, especially when he treated the way he treated women. And so when Ephesians 5 tells us to husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I say this all the time. Christ loved the church before the church loved him. And he modeled Christ-like sacrificial love even when the church rejected him. And so I think what Christ-like masculinity looks like is it is both lion and lamb. It is both firmness and gentleness, and so it is not one extreme over the other. It is not being overly, emotional, and it is not being overly domineering. Not being domineering at all. It is like, how can I lead my home? How can I be a leader in my community by leading by example, by loving people in a gentle and a kind way, and allowing my voice to be heard in gentle and respectful ways. And so I think a lot of times in the culture, it's either one side of the extreme. You have to be extremely passive to be accepted by some, or you have to be extremely domineering to feel like you got to be accepted by women.
You should teach.
But I think Jesus came and balanced and showed us this beautiful balance. Of correcting the Pharisees, being firm with truth, being bold in how he proclaimed his Father, but at the same time crying when Lazarus, like weeping when Lazarus died, right? Showing this vulnerability and this openness, right? And so I think he balanced both of them, and so I think when we look at Jesus, we see that God wants us to be both this lion and lamb in a beautiful way.
And
So her question was, what does Christian masculine leadership look like?
No, what is masculine leadership? That was her question. He added Christian into it because they're all talking biblically. Right. Yeah. I think it's a lot of truth in what he was saying, but I also think when he was saying talking about that balance, I think that a lot of men in the church trying to follow whatever the balance that I think there some men do not have a balance, and it turns into narcissist behavior, and it's almost like in your book you talk about that my way man. It's like my way or the highway, and so they have a bad definition in their minds about submissiveness and submission and all that kind of stuff. And like the man being the leader and the head of the household, it turns into narcissistic behaviors, which is not what Jesus and, the Bible was wanting. What do you think about what he said about how men should, about tying into the whole Kevin Samuel thing, and how men need to be gentle and then both firm?
I think that's true, because I think women need that.
Okay.
We like gentle and firm. Like he said, you can't be too soft. Don't be crying all the time.
Stop it.
But we like truthfulness and vulnerability, but you know, you have to be firm and have strength and show some kind of I don't want to say power, but you know what I mean, like strength. Like, yeah, strength that we know that, you know, if somebody come bang on this door, you're not gonna be standing behind me with my cig in my hand. I'll be standing behind you with your thing in your. You understand what I'm saying?
Smith & Wesson.
Okay, I can't remember the name of yours. You got your Smith, I got my cig, but you in the front.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. I mean, women. I mean, you have to. I think they're. I like the way he described that balance that Jesus had, because I think you need both.
Right. He did what I used to do when we were, I think when I was around in his station in life, in my late 30s, when I was or mid to late 30s, when I was I think at that point in time, were we doing couples? We were the leaders of our couples ministry at church. We led that for 10 years.
A long time.
Yeah, we did that for 10 years. And we were also doing our business. And I used to,
that was another job.
Yeah. And I used to, whenever someone would come and give, ask questions about that, I would like give them the biblical answer and use biblical references to show examples of how Christ or Paul or Peter or any one of the persons in the Bible led or demonstrated a male position, which I learned later was insufficient, which goes to my point about that I talked about earlier about how the Bible, and I wrote this on the back of my book, on the the little back of the book. I said the Bible does not teach men how to be leaders. It gives you examples of men who were leaders and what they did, but it's not an instruction manual.
To tell you what to do.
Exactly. It gives you anecdotal stories for which you should extract leadership principles from and then apply that to your life. But that task is very hard because you got to be a student of the Bible.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. That's how I think stuff got all discombobulated and warped, because it depends on your interpretation and the street you coming off of.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Like if the man read, something like, I don't know, I'm the master of the da-da-da-da, and then he take that home. Well, what street did he come off of?
Right.
Is how he's going to interpret that.
And by street, what Bernie means is based upon your background, the perspective, what street you lived on.
Your reference.
That's your reference for what you should or should not do. What's your reality? I talked about in the book the how you define truth and reality for you. And I was thinking about this today, that I think there's this, especially in the political arena, and we're not going to jump into politics, but in the political arena, there's a lot of conversation about fake news and on the real what's happening in reality and so forth.
Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Yeah. In the political scape. But I'm starting to understand that, just based upon that point, what street you came in on, if you grew up in the South during the Civil Rights Movement, your truth and reality is fact, and it's what you believe based upon where you grew up. If you were a Black person, then you know what it is. If you're a white person, then you have a deep rooted a belief about what your beliefs are at that time. If you grew up in the city in the Midwest, like Chicago or something, you have a different perspective about that. I grew up in Maryland, and so in a suburban neighborhood, so I have a different perspective about what getting along with other people, different races is. And so that was my reality. You have a reality. Being a family of 7.
6.
It was your mom too.
Oh, yeah.
Being
7.
a family of 7 with 5 brothers and sisters, your reality is different from my family of 4 with me, my mom, and my dad, and my sister. And so,
and I grew up in California.
Yeah. And so our realities are different. So I'm starting to appreciate the different realities that people have and what truth looks like based upon that reality. Speak.
Well, you you're saying that off of, you use the reference of like the mindset of some of these political people who believe stuff that's like Earth 1 and Earth 2.
Yes, but see, this is my point.
But I feel like some of it is reprobate.
Because
I really believe they believe what is being said. They believe it.
That's my point.
But I believe they've been turned over.
I don't disagree.
Reprobate mind.
I don't disagree. But even in that reprobate mind, that's God saying, okay, now since you believe this, then I'm gonna make it appear real to you. Then this is what it is. So you listen to people on the news, and it's like, are you serious? Do you hear yourself? And they're like, yes, I do hear myself. You don't hear me? And they really believe their reality is their truth.
They believe it.
And so when you look at a relationship context, he did what I used to do, which is take it back to the Bible and start talking about biblical characters.
Which is efficient, like you said.
Yes. But it's inefficient because it's not enough to teach men what to do. Because even though you may know, well, not even what to do, you need to know how to do it.
Well, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Like the
because
steps.
you may know that you need to be a good communicator and you need to communicate with your wife. You may know you need to sacrifice and be helpful and encouraging to your wife, but you may not know how to do it on Tuesday when you're tired.
And all of that is affected by your street.
Yes. Your reality and your truth. That's what it was. That's where it came from.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so I think he brought up the examples about Jesus was a tough he bust up the tables, and then he was a strong man, but then he also wept for Lazarus. Oh, the tee. Yes, but that doesn't tell me how to be a leader, though. It doesn't talk about what Christian leadership is or masculine leadership is. And so since I wrote a book about it, I wanted to share some of my points from that I got from my book and the things that I've learned over my life and things I learned through the 23 years of consulting that we did. Let me get my book so people can see. People like, you wrote a book? Yes.
Yep. When did you? That was 2015, right?
Yeah.
His Leadership, Her Trust.
His Leadership, Her Trust by Heath Wiggins, 2015. You can get it on Amazon. You can get it on my website, hisleadershiphertrust.com.
Get it off the website, please.
Yes, because Amazon be taking their cut first.
They do.
And then, but anyway, I'll leave this right here.
You're going to have to open it.
I'll stay it up like that. So because there's a lot that I can say about leadership. That's why.
Hold it in. Oops. Sorry.
Yes, I'm going to bring it in. There's a lot that I can say about leadership. As a background, I went and when I was trying to figure out how to be married to this beautiful woman, I was like, okay, all the premarital stuff that I learned has already run out. It's run out. I think I was in year 3. And I was like,
it ran out in year 3?
I was like, all the stuff that I learned in premarital class, that's all.
It's all in premarital.
Yeah, it all had run out. And I was like, I'm out here just trying to figure it out. I'm faking it. I hope she don't find out. So it wasn't, so I faked it for about 3 more years. And I was like, I need to go get some education about being a leader. And so that's when I went back to school and I got my master's in organizational leadership. And a part of my thesis of writing my paper was how you take an organization and a marriage, and you can look at the structure of an organization and a marriage and compare them. And if you structure your marriage like an organization, then you can function and operate within the basic organizational principles that businesses use, and you can apply that into your marriage. But your marriage is not run like a business, but the principles about leadership that are applied in business you can use in your marriage. So I talked about that in great detail, and I took a lot of notes from the relationship counseling, from science, from neurological, from behavioral sciences, from human behavior. I said human behavior already, and spiritual. A deep dive into the spiritual perspectives of relationships and man and woman and purpose and so forth. And so that's what this book pretty much delves into, the biblical aspects of it, accompanied by scientific, empirical research data study that goes along with it.
And it talks about our background.
I think we were married 17 years at the time.
Yeah, and your whole plan and how we got together and we didn't date and blah, blah, blah.
Right. It's a really good book. I was reading it the other day. I was like, this is a good book.
It is a good book. It is a really good book.
I am biased, but it's a good book because the information that I really, it was one of the things that I wish that I got information that I got before I got married and as I was getting married and coming along, that everybody was like, you'll just figure it out. You'll learn. I was like, how come nobody's teaching me how to be a leader? And I was like, I need to go to school for this. And so when I went to school and I learned what it was, I was like, oh, I can apply this to marriage. So I wrote a book about it. It's
a good book for young men that needs to know how to lead their households. And before, if you're thinking about getting married or whatever, you should get it before, actually.
Right. And if you are liking this video, liking this content, please hit the like button and think about subscribing if you want to, so that you can hear more content about our lives and our stories and about how to have fun and prioritizing fun and not just focus on bills, businesses, babies, and the Bible, even though we're focusing on the Bible today.
That part.
Anyway, so I want to answer, what is leadership? What is masculine leadership in the relationship context? And what is Christian masculine leadership in a relationship context? So leadership, as I talk about in my book, is simple. And I've done research on about over 90 years of research that has been done in leadership. So leadership is the process of influencing the movement of a group toward a common goal or outcome. That is what, I won't go into all the details, but that is essentially the basis of leadership, what it is. And if you think about its different components, the process indicates that there is multiple steps. It's not just one thing you do at one time. It's not, okay, you do it one time and you're done. It's a process. It's multiple steps. And the part about influencing, and I have a whole chapter on here about influencing, which I learned, which was so good. I didn't even understand all the different dynamics about influencing, about how you can influence and what you need to do to influence somebody, and how that's different from manipulate.
I feel like that's the balance that he was talking about.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, and I'm going to get to that in a second. And so when you talk about, that's leadership. So you talk about masculine leadership in the context of relationships. Mm-hmm. The masculine, when you talk about a male and female roles, the masculine side is you are the one who is going to determine what that common goal is. And you are the one that is going to initiate the process of influencing. So the masculine side is determining the goal and then determining the process of influencing, because those are two different processes that need to be done. Now, here's the thing. Yes, that's the masculine role, because in the Bible, it talks about what the man's role and purpose are. And I talk about that in my book, and so forth. And however, that masculine role is open to whoever seizes that role. It's not going to be given to the man because the man's the man. And what we have seen and what a lot of people are complaining about is that women are taking on that masculine role. And you hear that a lot in social media. Women have this masculine energy. That's because women have taken on the role of identifying what that end goal or that common goal is, or that outcome is going to be, and then taking the steps of influencing the family, their man, their husband, the children, their parents, whatever group is involved, in influencing that group to that common goal. And why men feel so like, why women can feel like I don't need a man, is because they're able to and capable of identifying that common goal and influencing people to move toward that direction.
Because they're doing it on their own, in their own households, without a man.
Exactly.
Without a husband.
Exactly.
There's a lot of single moms and just even women that are not mothers.
Yeah.
Have a common goal. Oh, I'm going to buy me a house. They got to have a house.
Right. And I talked about in the first part of the book, how in relationships, you may have, and I talked about the difference between a group and an organization. A group is two or more people that agree that they're together. And then an organization is two or more people that agree that they are together and they have a common goal that they're working toward. And there are different roles assigned to each person to move toward that common goal. And when you have somebody in a relationship and they think that they are in a relationship that's structured like an organization, meaning that you and I are in a relationship and we have a common goal and I'm going to do A and you do B and we're going to reach that common goal, that is a organizationally structured relationship. And there's like symbiotic kind of synergy that happens with that when that happens. But if I'm in a relationship with you and I'm in a group, meaning I think we're together, but we don't have no common goals. We just in here together. But you think we're in here together and we have common goals, then you'd be like, oh, well, what about this? And what about that? Let's move toward this. Or what do you think about moving this? What do you think about going over here? What do you think about pursuing these things together? And he's like, I'm just chill. I'm just here for the vibe. I'm just here for the, I'm just cool. And so there's a lot of feeling that the men are not having and pursuing a common goal or identifying a goal or persuading the woman to go in that direction. It's the woman that has a goal for what they want to do in the future or their lives.
Do we have a goal?
Let's start there. Debatable. Some men have a goal of, I want to be with you tonight.
That's the goal sometimes.
Yeah.
I just saw a short or something, and I don't know if it was a lady. I don't know if she was a preacher or she was some kind of speaker, and she was talking about being careful who the person, women, who you marry, because they need to be able to have the capacity to, like not carry who you are and who you're going to be, like all your goals and dreams and stuff. And if he can't handle that, then you're miserable. And I've seen that so many times because I don't think they have any idea of that they have to like be able to be a part of that as opposed to squashing it.
You mean the man being a part of hers,
right? Of her
and being able to carry hers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
The capacity to carry her ideas and dreams and visions and whatever that, she wants to add to the family. I mean, he should have some. A lot of times they don't. But
and when you talk about leadership, going back to the original definition that I talked about, it's the process of influencing the movement of a group toward a common goal. And so if a woman has a goal, and I talk about a lot about how you take a goal and make it a common goal, because we've had that a lot in this marriage right here. We've had.
What did we have?
I've had goals. I've had goals that were not common goals. And I had to persuade you for it to become a common goal. But the way I did it, which goes to the third point about Christian masculine leadership, is the way that I did it followed Christian principles and Christian values. And that can be any of them that apply.
I know the number one thing that you picked that you had to do with me because this marriage 301, not even 101, 201.
I think it's 401.
Whatever. But you had to, because you were able to do what you just said to make a goal common. What did you have to do? You had to learn me.
Talk about it.
You had to learn my likes, my dislikes, how I move, how I like to deal with big goals, little goals, small ones that could have us living in a YMCA if we do this, or ones. I mean, you had to learn.
Wait a minute, how. I ain't never had us living in the YMCA.
No, you ain't never. I'm saying the moves and the risk. I'm very risk averse. You are not. But the moves that we made could have gone to the left where we might have to.
I bind that in Jesus' name. It could not have gone that. The Lord God directs my path. His footsteps are ordered by the Lord. Come on now. I'm not going to be.
My point is.
Unless he direct us there, then I ain't got no choice about it.
I'm not saying that we would end up there. Could have. But I'm just saying if your ideas are not small.
That's true.
They are not little. They're huge where, you can end up to the left or to the right, or I mean, but the thing is, I trusted you to know that wherever we end up.
Give the people an example.
Oh, sorry, I'm hitting the table. I mean,
because you're just talking abstractly right now.
Well, I'm trying to think of one of the big ones. I don't know.
What? Normal school?
Well, I was going back to Guinevere.
Oh.
But I was fine going there, but normal school. But I didn't really see, the thing is with the normal school, which is the second house. Yeah, that was the second house. Third house, really, because you had your first house. So the third house. I didn't really understand what we was getting into when we went there.
That's the land that we bought where we built the boot camp on the acres.
Yeah, the 14 acres or whatever. Acres. I didn't really understand what we were really getting into all the way, but I was really just trusting him. But then later on, I figured like, oh, this is what we did. That's what we got into when I was writing them checks. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So she had to trust that this was the Lord leading me to buy 14 acres and build a house.
Leading us.
Correct. Thank you. Leading us to buy 14 acres and build a house on that property.
When
and
we lived in a nice...
build a business on that. Because that was the vision. That was the vision that God gave me very clearly. I told her about it. And
a dream you had or something.
When we built the boot camp in 2000, that's when we were like, oh, this is what we're going to do. And it was, and the part of that dream, part of that vision that God gave me was to buy was to build a obstacle course on a bunch of acreage. And so
land, yeah. So you've been looking. I've been looking for like years. Mind you, we lived in a nice 2-car garage house, where we were. So I wasn't trying to go nowhere.
Yeah, she was good. So, but I was like, but it's the vision. God has given me the vision. So I was looking at and bringing you along through that process because God performed several miracles for that to happen.
I was just couldn't believe it. Because I knew God was going to shut it down.
Yeah, she didn't want to do it.
I was like, they're not going to let us buy this property. Are you kidding?
Yeah. So
every time he come back from me, I said, what?
Yeah, she was expecting God to be. She was expecting the lender, the real estate agent, the seller. I was
waiting for God to shut it down.
Yeah, okay. And he was like, "No, go ahead, go right ahead. No, you don't need that much money. You can stop paying. It doesn't matter." Anyway, we ended up. So there's been things that you've had to trust me on.
Yeah.
And but the process of influencing you to get there was very strategic on my part.
Right.
And it was very intentional.
You had to learn me.
Right. And I had to learn, I had to know how to influence you.
You had to already know that because we've been married since then.
We bought that. It was 9 years.
2000. Yeah. So
9 years.
Yeah, you've learned, you got a good whiff of me by now.
Right. But I had to learn Bernie, and I had to know how I had to know. Whew,
Calm down. You having flashbacks?
I had to know and accept.
Big word.
Who Bernie was and not try to change her to who I wanted her to be so that she would move like me. I had to accept that she was risk averse.
Yes.
I had to accept that she did not want to move. I had to accept that those were her realities and that was her truth. And that I could not just muscle my way through and use the scripture to be like, you have to submit
and manipulate
and do what I say because I'm the man of the house and I'm giving direction and so forth. I could have, but I did not do that.
That's what they be doing on that Love in Detroit thing that I told you about that is like off the chain, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I had to learn who she was and accept that that's who she is. And then tailor my approach to persuade her to follow what the Lord was leading us to do in a way that she could receive it and not buck up against it.
Take that all in. Yes. And
hold on. And that was hard. That was straight hard.
And the reason why I'm risk averse, and this is what he had to learn, because my street is wheat, barley, shelter.
That's all
I come
she cared about.
From a street
wheat, barley, and shelter.
Wheat, barley, which means you have wheat, so you got food, barley, a little bit more food, grain, shelter, a roof over my head. So
with 6 brothers and sisters,
why we need to move? We got wheat, barley, shelter.
Yeah, with 6 of them, 5 brothers and sisters living on a single family. Wheat, barley, and shelter wheat, barley, and shelter was her. If she had wheat, barley, and shelter, she was good. She didn't need anything else.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't need a lot growing up. So I mean, I just felt I'm very risk averse because you always say I'm very pessimistic.
Yes, I say very pessimistic. I say you are pessimistic.
Well, my point, I say very because I'm going to think of the worst thing that can happen.
That is true.
I go to the extreme. I don't go to the middle. I go all the way.
Thing that would happen. She thinks the like Six Sigma of what would happen, of what would not happen. That's what she thinks is going to happen. That's the first thing come to mind. I don't like going through tunnels. And when we go through a tunnel, I'm fine as long as it's moving. But when the red lights come, I see the crack in the water on the inside. That's what I'm seeing in my mind. Every day, all day.
When there's red lights inside the tunnel, we need to keep it moving because I don't want to see that crack with that water. See, that's where my mind go to.
So I have to accept that that's who Bernie is, and not try to change her, and not be mad that she's not me.
Yeah, but that, thank God you did that because a lot of women have to deal with the my way man that just push their agenda like, no, I'm the man. We're going to do it this way. Yeah. Nobody cares about how you feel, how you do things. We're doing it this way. And then to bring Jesus and manipulate that, bring scriptures like
I hear a lot of,
that's so irritating.
Men talk about the emotions of women and how women be acting on emotion and women be, they're too emotional and, they make decisions based off emotion. Like that's a bad thing. Because a man, and men do it too, and I talk about it in my book, the neurological pattern that people use in making decisions. Oh, that was I'm sorry, I'm talking about my book again. Chapter 9 or 10, I talked about, I wrote, so what happened, I wrote the book and I was done. And I was like, I don't feel like it's done all the way. And I sat on it for about a year and I couldn't publish it because I didn't feel like it was done. And then somebody said, something about, when leadership, every time I would mention leadership, they would always go right to the man's decision-making. And I was like, that's interesting that they are equating leadership with his decision-making. And I said, let me do some research on decision-making and to see if I find out what the parallel is. And I dove deep into decision-making and deciphered and etched out the individual steps that you take to make a decision. And the second step that you take in making a decision is your emotions. You identify what something is, and then you immediately, and these are the unconscious steps, you identify what this is. This is a cell phone. Now, how do I feel about this cell phone?
That's the second thing that comes.
It's the second thing that comes to mind. Is this thing important? Is it something that I can eat food off of? Is it something that I use as a tool for business? Is it something that I just randomly use calls on? How do I feel about this? And then after that, the third step is, okay, however I feel about it, okay, what am I going to plan on doing about this thing? Like, I got to put a case around it. I got to make sure that I put all my information, I put a lock on it or don't put a lock on it, or this is how I feel about it. And then that determines what I'm going to do about it. And then the decision you make is actually what you do about it. And so men talk about, women are so emotional. Women are emotional and men are emotional too, but their emotions play out differently, but the emotions are there. And that, because the emotions determine what you actually feel and think about different objects.
I feel like women, we may show ours more often than a man, even though he has.
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
Because men show their emotions a lot.
Well, they just show it completely differently. Yeah. That's what I mean by that.
Go to a basketball game, football game. Give a man a video game controller.
Oh my gosh. That whole area.
Let a man find out that you're not doing something respectful. He has emotions.
Yeah.
Because think about how does he feel about it, and
but
then
do
his
we do that
outward expression. Go ahead.
Do we show ours more often because we like to talk or we're just more expressive and more passionate?
Here's the neurological side of it. And there was a study done that talked about that did a functional MRI, which is it's basically a map on your not a map, but a cap on your head, and it looks at your brain activity when you do certain projects. And I think the right side is the logic, and the left side is the creative. I think let's just say that is, I can't remember. But they say the right side is the logic and the left side is creative. And it's kind of the way God wired us. When a man was...
Or us, everybody.
Everybody, humans. Oh. A man, male and female. When a woman was doing a task, when a man was doing a task, his right side brain was going back and forth. All the activity was on the right side of his brain, which is logic. He was thinking about how to maneuver and put things together and how to fix stuff. When the woman was doing it, it was like it was going this way. The left side and the right side were it's not multitasking, but it's the emotion side and the logic side were going this way. Like the synapses and the connections were going vertical instead of the men was going just on the logic side. So he wasn't using his emotional side, he was using his logic side. The women were using both. And it looked at that as of how women and men process what their reality is, what their truth is, how they process information, and they use that to determine how they are going to move in certain situations.
I feel like that is multitasking because men need to categorize stuff. Like, let's do this one thing, and then women just do this, let me get the baby, let me do this. But men got to stick to.
I can't say you're wrong.
Is that the?
I wouldn't say that research was saying that, and I wouldn't say that that's what it is.
That's what that made me think of when you just described that whole thing, and then that's what I saw in my head. Not saying it's right or wrong, but that's just what I saw.
I understand, and that's when I was doing research for. That was when I was doing research for decision making, and I was like, oh, so this is why men and women make decisions differently. And so that was like, okay, so I can't be mad at Bernie that she's not doing this because that's my job. And she can't get mad at me because I'm not doing this because that's her job. But together we can do all the things if we rely on each other's strengths to do that.
Right.
And so I had to remove from my decision-making process an expectation that you should move as quickly as I do because I'm over here, especially when it came to logical things. Now, on the flip side, when it came to things that were on the creative or emotional side, I had to lean toward you and defer to your judgment in that because I knew I wasn't as strong as you in that side.
Yeah, you did because, not that emotional at all.
I am emotional.
Really?
I am. Not. I just express it differently.
Okay. But let me ask you this. Did you ever try or because before you learned that, like how you were going to deal with me because of who I am and you're making decisions. I'm trying to remember, and if you ever tried to like do my way. Did you ever try that?
No.
I don't feel like I'm trying to remember if you ever tried to make, we doing
the
this.
reference that she's talking about is in the book. I talk about 4 different types of men who have been mantled with the leadership position, but and use that leadership position, use a leadership mantle as a husband.
What chapter is that in?
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
Okay, never mind. I thought you knew about it.
I think it's chapter 4.
Okay.
But you are the husband and you are the leader, but you're a bad leader. And there's 4 different type of men that I identify as bad leaders, and that's Mr. My Way Man. Everything's got to be your way. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. Doesn't matter what logic can be applied. Doesn't matter what emotions are involved. It's my way or the highway.
And then do you remember the other ones?
I got that guy. Like, I got it. Somebody who's like, no, I got it. I'll take care of it. I'll do it.
And then they don't do it. Oh my gosh, that's irritating.
And then I can't remember that. There's 2 others. I can't remember.
Okay.
I wrote the book, but 8 years ago.
It's been a long time.
But yeah, get the book and read the chapter and find out.
Find out the other two.
Yeah. But it talks about men who are bad leaders, but they are leaders because they are influencing the movement of their family or their group to a common goal or outcome. Okay,
so did you get to the rest of it was like 4 things that you were talking about?
Yeah, that was the last one about the Christian leadership side.
You were talking about, was that it when you were talking about influence? When you were talking about what he was talking about, and then you 4 things from your book about leadership or something.
Yeah, I got through them. The questions was leadership. What is leadership? What is masculine leadership in the relationship context, and what is Christian masculine leadership in a relationship context? And Christian masculine leadership is the Christian principles and values that you use to provide your leadership. And I gave examples about how I did it.
Oh, right. You were talking about when you had finished the book, but you didn't think it was ready and then you dove into decision making, and then you
Did I finish that story?
I'm not sure if you did, because you were talking about how you learned how you had the influence.
So when I realized I didn't, when I realized what I learned about decision making, I was like, that's the final chapter. So I wrote the chapter on decision making and then put a bow on the book and published it in 2015.
Mm. So are you finished talking about influence and stuff?
Yeah, the influence is a big, huge chapter. I can't even really go into that. Okay. If y'all want to hear about influencing, let me know. And because I know I had to talk about influencing because when you talk about leadership, you have to talk about how you influence, because that is a fundamental principle of leadership, the ability to influence. It's the process of influencing. So I broke down that process very meticulously so that men who want to know how to influence their mate will know exactly what to do.
And how to get buy-in.
Yeah.
You did. I do remember reading that about buy-in. And it was something else you said about buy-in in there. Oh, I had it in my head, but it's gone.
Yeah. So there's the very specific things. Not very specific. There's steps that you can follow to find out exactly what you need to do.
Oh, that's what it was. It was something that I thought was really good in the book where you talked about the reason why you have to get that buy-in, because everybody comes to the table with their specific belief that they are born with, like who they are. That's their belief.
Yeah.
And then how do you change? How can you change somebody's? I mean, you're not gonna. No, what was it? You're not gonna change the person's belief inside them because
the confidence.
Huh?
The confidence that they have about their own belief.
Right. You're not, because that's embedded in them. That's the core of them. That's the thing you job gotta accept, because it's there and it's not necessarily gonna go anywhere. Because I mean, when I think about us, we've been married 25 years. I still have that. The core of me is who I am, how I was raised.
Right.
That's my belief system.
That's your truth. That's your reality.
That's my belief system. That's how I mean.
Your belief system.
Yeah. It's the core of me. It hasn't gone anywhere.
No. And what I talk about, what she's talking about in the book, I talk about how that belief system creates who you are.
Yeah.
And based upon who you are, you have a confidence in that person. Now, some people have a lack of confidence in themselves because of many different reasons, but that's who you are too. And so your ability to persuade one person to take what they believe about a cell phone and replace it with what you believe about a cell phone.
That's
depending upon where that belief sits in Bernie about a cell phone. If she believes that cell phones is just so important to life, like if you think about children, if you can punish them and take their cell phone away from them. It's like, oh my gosh, you're killing me. But an adult, you'd be like, oh, I forgot my cell phone. Oh well, I'll get it later.
Some adults,
older adults like me. I'm thinking about me. Like, oh, I forgot my cell phone.
Mine in the other room right now.
Exactly. Because our what we believe about a cell phone is based upon what our upbringing. I didn't grow up with a cell phone, so I don't really need one.
Yeah.
I mean, I need it, but I don't really need it. And so because of that, whatever that belief is, if you're trying to replace the belief that I have about a cell phone, depending upon what my belief is, you have to convince me a certain type of way. You have to persuade me. You have to present enough factual or data evidence, and you have to know like how this person feels about it and what would be persuasive for her to think differently about the cell phone.
But see, that's what I think goes wrong in marriages in the first place is people don't accept that belief in that person, like who that person is, the core of that person. If you don't accept who that person is, you don't even know all that influence stuff that you say you have to do. You don't even know that you have to do that because you haven't even accept who the person showed up as.
And you don't accept that you have to persuade them to believe what it is that you...
No, they should just do what you say.
Or to do it differently. They should just obey and submit. They should just submit.
Jesus.
You don't believe that you have to persuade them.
Oh, Lord.
So the notion of persuading is irritating.
My Lord, Jesus. Hey! My God.
But the process of leadership is the process of influencing. And influencing, you have to talk about persuasion. And my favorite chapter in the book is the chapter about power and how you use power to persuade. And that thing just blew my mind. It completely changed the way that I look at leadership. It completely changed the way that I lead and lead my family and people at work. So yeah, check this book out. I'm not trying to, I am trying to promote my book. But
it's a good book. Like and subscribe.
Yes. And with that note, I don't want to keep waxing because we are way over time.
As usual. Sorry.
Yeah, we be trying to do it short, but
I know we get to talk. Really?
Yeah.
Wow. We get to talking all the time.
Yeah, but anything else?
That's because we like each other.
Did I finish? Yeah.
No, seriously. I'm not gonna say it, but
what?
Some couples don't like each other.
That is true.
We like each other, so we can actually have these that's how you have these long conversations.
Right. Yeah.
You know how quick somebody would have been up from this table if you don't really like this person?
They would have been at the table.
Exactly.
They would have been at the table in the first place.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's true.
But leave a question in the comments if you have any. Thank you all for checking us out and watching our content. Appreciate it. And we'll be back.
And tell us what y'all think about leadership. Is that what you wanted to ask them? Like comments on what they think masculine leadership is?
Yeah.
Was that the question?
Okay.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you all think. Should I say Christian masculine leadership?
Either
or
one.
Just leadership?
Either one.
Yeah, either or, both.
Jackie talked about masculine leadership, and then he flipped it and put Christian masculine leadership on it. Okay. So I wanted to talk about Christian masculine leadership, and because it encompassed all of that, and that's what you do. All right, y'all. Thank you. Like, subscribe, and share and so forth.
Yeah, we say share.
Yeah, if you want to. Okay, all right.
Bye.
Bye.